Other than the cost of reproducing the worker, the other limit to this lowering wages tactic is class struggle. As you can imagine, workers don't like having their wages cut. They often fight against it. Their resistance can take the form of isolated acts of sabotage, slowing down, stealing. It can also take the form of organized collective action, strikes, unions. If there is a decent rate of unemployment in your country, your best weapon against this is just to fire the troublesome workers and hire new ones. This is why it's always good to have a surplus of unemployed people around. If there is a weak enough democracy in your country, you can use violence or the threat of violence to break a union. For instance, a popular tactic is to find the leaders of the union and have them tortured or killed. This has been quite effective in the past and is still used all around the world today. In fact, you can hire people from the U.S. Army School of Americas to help you do this. Another way to lower the cost of reproducing the worker is to make the standard of living cheaper. This isn't something that you as an individual capitalist might have much control over, but if the capitalists that make consumer goods like food, clothing, housing, beer, gas, find ways to reduce the cost of their commodities, this will lower the cost of reproducing the worker, thus making it possible to lower wages. Let's say that slashing wages isn't possible for whatever reason. Maybe the unions are too strong. Maybe the unions have gotten a minimum wage law passed in your country. Maybe unemployment is low. Maybe you required skilled labor and there's a shortage of it. For whatever reason, let's say you can't lower wages. What else can you do? Well, you can make your workers work harder and more efficiently. This raises S relative to V, thus raising the rate of exploitation. There are many ways to do this. The most obvious way is just to force your workers to work harder. Set production quotas, threaten them, abuse them, limit their bathroom breaks. Be creative. But these tactics are most effective when combined with more efficient tactics. If you want to increase the output of each worker, you're going to need to make the production process more efficient. Organize your shop floor or office space for maximum efficiency. Break complicated procedures into simple routinized tasks divided between multiple workers, like in an assembly line. How much more surplus can you get from reorganizing production in a more efficient way? Given your current machines and workspace, you will eventually hit a limit. That's why it's important to constantly be investing in new machines, new factories, investments in constant capital, C. Even though constant capital can't produce surplus, more efficient technologies can allow workers to produce more surplus. So if you say, buy faster computers for your office, or faster machines for your assembly line, or faster sewing machines for your sweatshop, your employees can work faster, thus producing more surplus. And indeed, throughout the capitalist world, capitalists are always trying to find ways to speed up production. In situations where workers don't have any power to resist this speed up, production can take on a dizzying pace. Imagine speeding up production, paying low wages, and making your workers work longer hours. This will be the ultimate in exploitation. If you want to do this, I suggest you move your production to the capitalist Wild West, China, Chinatown, the maquiladora section of Mexico. I should also mention here that as you introduce these labor-saving technologies into your production, you won't need as many workers. This is a great time to fire people or lay them off. This has the effect of increasing unemployment, which is very good for you. Unemployment drives down wages and makes it easier to replace workers who resist exploitation. Investing in new machinery is one of the most popular ways of getting more work out of workers. It produces far more surplus than any of the other methods we have discussed. It also seems to have no limit, although in a future video at some point, a video on crisis, I'll talk about something called the falling rate of profit. Of course, once your innovative machinery allows you to start outselling other capitalists in the marketplace, they're going to want the same machinery. You can try to keep your technology secret, you can patent it, but eventually other capitalists are going to catch up with you. Once this happens, the socially necessary labor time it takes to make your commodities goes down. This brings the value of your commodities down. It takes out your edge against other capitalists in the marketplace. It also means you are no longer extracting as much surplus value per worker as you were before. Now what are you going to do? Well, invest in new machines. The race goes on. Capitalists are constantly adding new technologies, reorganizing production, cutting wages, using all the strategies I discussed in an endless quest to raise the rate of exploitation. But as soon as these new technologies and strategies become standard across an industry, capitalists are forced to come up with new strategies. Competition never ceases, innovation never ceases, and class struggle never ceases. This constant quest to squeeze more profit from your workforce may be viewed by some as immoral. I'll be posting a longer video at some point soon dedicated solely to this topic of exploitation and morality, so stay posted. Yes, as a capitalist, you have an extraordinary amount of social power. Your decisions have a direct effect on the lives of many people, sometimes all of society. If you worry about the social consequences of your decisions, it'll interfere with your ability to maximize profit. Whenever you are being less immoral, some other capitalist is being more immoral. When the two of you meet in the marketplace, you will lose. This is why capitalist culture has generated a worldview in which capitalists believe that 1, they're providing a positive social function by providing quality products to consumers instead of, say, providing quality lives to workers. And 2, that following the profit motive is morally justifiable because if they don't do it, someone else will. If you can get yourself to believe either of these two things, or both of them preferably, you should do fine as a capitalist. On a final methodological note, in my video on labor theory of value, I conclude by saying that the labor theory of value is best proven by asking what it explains. Here, in this video, I've shown all of the methods by which capitalists pursue surplus value. I believe that this explanation is a pretty accurate description of the relation between workers and capitalists in the real world. This, then, is evidence that the labor theory of value is a useful theory, one that can help us explain things that bourgeois economic theory can't.